So this is just kind of funny. If you look at this graphic right here, you'll see that I had in Madden 19. This is when I made a club run. That's why I had the Bucks thing behind me. I had the 13th best offense and the 122nd best defense going into my final four of my club championship. That was based on ladders, a lot of games played, 50 plus, 100 games played. They tracked all the stats, and it was out of 128 people who like the final tally was out of 128 people, but so I was 13th on offense out of 128 and 122 out of 128. And the reason was, it's actually really cool. Kind of the evolution of Madden here a little bit we're going to talk about, is that game mode that was played on was salary cap. I'm familiar with it really fast. It's like, you ever see those Twitter things where it's like you have $5 to build a team, and it's like different tiers of players you pay money. So in salary cap, it was like you have $1,000 to build a team. And you could choose any player from Madden, basically. You had to own him in your MUT binder. But he costs, different amounts. And then abilities on top of that cost different amounts. So, like, a Jukebox would cost $13 on a $22 Chris Johnson. Or you could go with a $30 Chris Johnson. And, so you could go different tiers. Power-ups were a huge deal. Do you go with a $22 Chris Johnson and lose 4 speed? Or lose $8, go up to $30, and get the extra speed? Bunch of decisions. It was actually pretty cool. Very nerdy, but you'd see pretty drastic differences in people's teams, because even if you're like, man, I got to get this $40 Terrell Owens, then your entire team can be different to be able to make that work compared to someone who's okay with the $35 Terrell Owens with his power-ups, right? So that's one thing that was really, really cool about salary cap back then. The reason that my defense was so bad was that the cap, there was always issues with the cap a little bit. And to have a good offense, hey boys, a brief pause in the video. I want to show you guys this. I have built this website from top to bottom with my own 2 hands. I learned how to develop, how to code, how to graphic design, everything with the intentions of making you a better Madden player. I've taken people from 10 weekend league wins to 20 weekend league wins. I've taken people from non-competitive, barely playing, to beating professional Madden players in tournaments. You get access to entire offensive guides, entire defensive guides, and code premium, which is in the top of the description, gets you 25% off. I want to see you in there. Go to the description, click the link, use code premium, and start winning more games, all right? You had to have really good skill positions, right? And those cost a bunch of cap. Those cost a ton of cap. And I used, at the time, I ran a slot, so I had a really good running back because I wanted to be able to run 0-1 trap, and I threw it to him a lot out of the backfield. I had okay tight ends. I ran budget tight ends. I ran, dang, who did I run? I ran Kyle Juszczyk once. I used Caleb Smith, I believe. And then Jonnu Smith was a dog. All their budget cards, though. Wide receivers, I ran Terrell Owens and I can't remember the other person, but T.O. was a big card for me. He was an absolute dog. I can't believe he's not in the game anymore, man. But they were all big spenders. And on defense, it was hard to be able to find the cap to be able to fill out an entirely good defense, right? It was really hard to find the cap to be able to fill out an entirely good defense just because there's just too many players. So I said, okay, a lot of my cap is disproportionately on my offense. So what do you do on defense if you have a bad defense? You just don't have the players on defense. There's no different than in real life. Well, can't really get a pass rush, right? You'd have to do some really exotic stunting, I guess, in the D-line, and a lot of exotic different like looks trying to manipulate protection to come free. But you can't really do that in Madden a ton. And to be able to have like slot corners that were fast, you could get budget ones, but you'd have to spend cap at somewhere. And the budget slot corners that were actually usable cost more cap than like outside linebackers. So what I did was I got some of the faster outside linebackers in the game. I ran 3-4 bear. So I had 4 GOAT DBs. One of them would be my user, right? One of the safeties. I had 4 GOAT DBs. All of my interior linemen, so in 3-4 bear, the way that it would end up lining up was you'd have the entire line stacked is how I ran the defense. So you'd have safety, who would be an AI, 2 corners, that's 3 people. You'd have 2 edge rushers, and then you'd have, that's 5. You'd have 4 people in the middle. Those guys were all 10 caps, is what we called them, the lowest possible caps. And they were not supposed to get any pass rush from the interior. My edge guys were fast, though, and I would send 7 people at the offense every single time. All I was hoping for was a mistake. That was really all I was hoping for. I knew that my pressure was going to come in every single time. I landed a blitz set. Every single time it would come in. Literally every time. It came in on 7, it came in on 6, came in on 5. We sent the dogs, but we had nobody in coverage. So a ton of big plays, a ton of broken runs, a ton of et cetera, et cetera. It would always, it just how it worked out because I had nobody in coverage. But by doing this, I also forced turnovers. So I told myself in my when I was playing, I said, if I can, and it sounds easier said than done, if I can score every drive, I will get one stop, whether it's fluke from a batted line tip pick, pressure and accurate, a lurk, something. I will get a stop because it's hard to pass every single play with someone in your face, even if you're 5-outing it, because I'll go aggressive. I'll even hard flat my outside corner sometimes and say, oh, you want to 5-out me, right? Instead of 5 routes out, run 500 protection, boom. I'm going to put a hard flat at, boom, get you into a, even not even the hard flat will pick it off, but get you into a 2nd and 10. Now you have to throw the ball away. Now you're on 3rd and 10. Now you're trying to press the issue. You know what I mean? Trying to get him in a situation like that. I'd give up a ton of big plays, but I would get turnovers. And this is still a thing even to this Madden where I believe this specific Madden's a little bit hard because agging is such a big deal. Because before, you could have one-on-one coverage and not that the guy's locked down, but he couldn't just get agged, right? They'd have to work their way into them. They'd have to do something to get open instead of just running a streak and ag them. But if you struggle on defense, and you'll see people still do this, that's why you'll see people run like 4-3-6-1 and stuff like that. If you send consistent heavy pressure at somebody, you don't need to be that great on defense. They'll probably make a mistake or get stopped off a fluke. And that's not something I like, but it's something that I remember recognizing at that time and saying, yeah, we got to do this. Like that I have to run this style of defense. And it was awesome. I mean, it worked. It worked for a while, but I eventually lost because my defense couldn't. Well, actually, I lost because of my offense, funny enough. My defense actually got like 2 or 3 stops in the game that I lost finally against Nick Hacko. That video is on my channel somewhere. But yeah, dude, salary cap was so cool, man. There was so much. You'd see, like right now, you'll see some team differences, but like not a ton, man. You know what I mean? The best wide receivers are the best wide receivers. The best quarterback is the best quarterback. The best tight ends is best tight ends. You know what I mean? Best DBs, best DBs. Some changes a little bit. And on the more casual level, you'll see different theme teams. But on the pro level, no one cares about their favorite theme team. They're running the best theme team, right? That's where you'll see a lot of the repetitiveness. Where, again, even someone who would run, gun bunch every single play compared to someone who would run gun bunch to tight slots halfback weak, right? They would have to run slightly different teams, which sometimes would make it drastically different because they had to invest. Maybe the tight slots guy has to invest a little bit more in his slot wide receivers. I don't know. I'm just saying. That might change up how his defense looks entirely on the back end and what he can actually run successfully. I remember before, a big part would be that people would tank their halfbacks always. They'd never have a good halfback. That's one of the reasons actually I'd have disproportionate amount of cap on my offense is because they'd run like a 10-15 cap halfback, and I'd run, and they never really threw to him, and I'd run a 30 cap or a $30 halfback, and I'd put jukebox on him because I would throw it to the halfback wheel all the time, juke out the flat defender, and be boom out of there, right? So it's just, and because of that, I couldn't run the defenses that other people were running because that was a lot of cap that went into that. And yeah, I finally just remembered that actually. I remember why I had to do that because for a second I couldn't remember why my team was so much more cap heavy on offense. Additionally, I at that time ran Troy Aikman with Hot Route Master. And that was, I believe, a little bit more cap than the meta quarterback at the time, which was Andrew Luck with Escape Artist. Right? And then a lot of people, even on top of that, would not even run Andrew Luck with Escape Artist, run a worse Troy Aikman than what I was doing, but still with the Howard Master. But I had to have a better Troy Aikman for whatever reason, which was another $20, 20 cap, and it resulted in me having to change my entire defense. The game was also, at the time, it was expensive still, but nowhere near what it is right now. I look back, I took that for granted, dude. Like, seriously, I took that so much for granted. I'd probably have to spend $500 beginning of the year, maybe $100, $200 as the year went on. And that was from someone who I did not play MUT at the time. I never played MUT. I only played salary cap, which is Ultimate Team, but you know what I'm saying? Like, it's not MUT. I never played Weekend League until January or February of Madden 20. So I didn't even see much of I didn't see much of Dickerson. I never saw as much of like Randy Moss, Moss 100, whatever, as you guys did. I actually never experienced those things. And then on offense too, it's funny in Madden 20. It's funny. I ran a slot offset, which you couldn't run 1-4-6 on. So the meta defense that everyone talks about back then, I never played it. It never ever stopped me. And you even see there's a video on this channel, I believe, or somewhere. It's on Throne's channel too, of Throne running 1-4-6, and I just gash him for huge runs up the middle because he got weak boxed. So my Madden 20 experience was crazy different. Enforcer, people weren't really rocking it like that in salary cap a ton. It was popular, but not nearly as much as Mutt. And so I never even played against like the OP Enforcer Pat Tillman at the beginning of the year. So it was a crazy different experience. I'd like to see him bring it back. I understand why they went full Mutt. It makes sense from like a marketing perspective, which I'm a huge advocate for. In Madden, to grow competitive Madden, we should be doing what makes EA the most money. And we should be doing what appeals to the most people. You know, think about this. What's more appealing? My $22 crappy Jonnu Smith catching a touchdown, he's a budget beast, or 99 overall Rob Gronkowski catching a touchdown? Obviously, Rob Gronkowski is a better viewing experience to see. Same with, like, you know, wide receivers, quarterbacks. Who'd you rather see? Me use Taylor Heineke, who's a bad example, but Taylor Heineke at my quarterback, or Patrick Mahomes at my quarterback. You want to see people use the best cards. So I get it from that perspective, but as a competitor, it sucks a little bit looking back. I was a big fan of team building. Was fun. Team building was fun. I'm not a nerd like that, but there was some fun stuff with it. See what different people did. It was very, you know, it was pretty cool. Changing schemes was hard. I'll say that because you have to change so much to be able to make a scheme work. Whereas now, you can just change a couple abilities. Honestly, I mean, a lot of the best players are the best players, right? Best O-line, you have the best O-line. Best wide receivers, you have the best wide receivers, regardless of scheme. Best halfbacks, you have the best halfback. You know, quarterbacks. You know, obviously a little bit of differentiation, but not a ton. Same with defense. Best DBs. AP discounts change that somewhat, but nothing crazy, right? Whoever, Troy Apke, Apake, he was a dog. He was a dog user back then too. But yeah, I just want to talk about that, boys. Hey, you made it to the end of the video, meaning that you probably enjoyed it. If you did, check out this one right here. You're going to like it even more. Or consider going in the description and check out my website, civil.gg. Learn how I play the game of John Madden Football. All right? See you in the next one.